Hello and welcome to another episode of Faith Encounters, where we talk about the different things that God has brought us through our faith. I'm excited because we have somebody here that is very near and dear to my heart. He is the none other than the pastor of Abundant Faith Christian Church. He is my brother, my namesake. We have so many years in the game. This introduction is going to be a little bit more special because he's my brother and because I love him so much. And so, yeah, I'm excited. So you came up with Faith Works, right? Mm-hmm. And so I usually ask people what does faith work means to them, but I'm asking you, what were you thinking about when you came up with Faith Works?
So it was really just one piece of the bigger picture, right? So obviously, the church is abundant faith. The tagline to the church is the church where faith works.
Right.
I 1000% stand on, believe, and nobody can convince me different, that faith works. So, I've been through so many circumstances where, that's literally all I had. But then I'm also a believer in James chapter 2, verse 17, that says faith without works is dead. So I feel like, faith is not just something that we can just sort of use as a genie in the bottle, you know what I mean? But we actually need to kind of put some work in to sort of match our belief system.
Right.
As far as faith works, the design, I worked with a really close friend of mine who's a graphic designer, and I told him what I wanted it to sort of encompass. And I mean, me, I'm not really a flashy person, so I wanted the idea to be pretty simple, but I wanted it to really have a powerful meaning. And so as you look at the design, one of the things that most people overlook is the fact that the letters are missing pieces.
All right.
And I think you called me one day and you were like, yo, I think my shirt is messed up. Like it's missing some pieces. But that actually falls into the definition of faith. As the Bible describes it, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of what we don't see. So what we see with the design is our minds will create what's missing. And so even though we don't see it, there's the evidence of it. And so I just felt like when the designer, J Truth Designs, when he sent me 3 options, this was the first one. And when he sent it, he gave me a disclaimer. He was like, listen, I'm sending you 3 options because I told you I would. He was like, but man, I really feel like there's an anointing on this first option. And when he sent it, immediately I was all in. So that's pretty much where it came from. But it was a piece in the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish at Abundant Faith. And that is to not only strengthen the faith of believers, but also help to encourage and equip them to be able to work that faith.
Yeah, that's dope. And to speak to what you said, I was trying to sell a mask, and my coworker was like, "Where's the rest of the letters at?" And we had been doing this for so long, so I was like, "Wait a minute, it ain't no letters right there. I've just been seeing them. I just, like you said, Joe. So like you told me, you was like, it's the substance of things hoped for. You don't see it, but it's there. Right. And so I went back and was like, yeah, you don't see it, but it's there. I made the sale, whatever. But okay. So what has been a time in your life where faith has gotten you through?
Man, listen, we'd be here all day. I believe that everybody is anointed for something, right? Fortunately, but unfortunately, a part of my anointing is that I've been anointed to go through things so that I can help people through things.
Right.
So if anybody has ever heard me preach, I probably 80% of my illustrations and examples are from my life.
Your life.
You know what I mean? So I say that to say, I find myself in situations all the time. I would probably say the most recent is probably just earlier this year, and I kind of gave this testimony in a sermon a couple months ago, but earlier this year, I unexpectedly lost my job. I lost my job April 24th, which was like the height of all the pandemic and the chaos, right? Like, because that was during the time where, we thought it was going to be 2 to 4 weeks, and then here we are, into April, and it's just getting worse, right?
Yeah.
So I lost my job, and like, I guess they wanted to like clear their conscience, so they were like, we're gonna make sure you get your unemployment, blah blah blah. So I applied for the unemployment, and like nothing was coming, you know what I mean? And also during that time, like any other relationship, me and my wife, we were going through some stuff, and it was looking rough. And I think looking back on it, it was bad, but I think it seemed worse than what it really was because of everything else that was going on too. So I'm going through, problems in my relationship, no job. It's a pandemic, so finding another job is like not happening. You know what I mean? And then I'm having to like preach and teach every week, encouraging people that like, God is doing this, and this is an opportunity for growth, and God is making ways out of this, and blah blah blah. And I would get done preaching or teaching, and like literally, especially Wednesday nights, like I would, after everybody left, like I would get done teaching on a Wednesday night and like sit in my car and cry, like, because everything I'm talking about, like I don't have any evidence that like this is even true right now. So we got to the point where, I'm trying to make the story as short as possible, but we got to the point where, my wife is like, listen, we were kind of making it through our marital stuff. We would, on the back end of that, everything worked out with that. But the financial stuff was still there. And she was like, listen, we got these auto, these auto draft bills that's going to come out. And I was like, I mean, we're going to have to transfer money in from the savings. And she was like, yeah, but once we do this, ain't no more. You know what I mean? Because this was, I think we were 6 months in, maybe. So, they tell you, always have 6 to 8 months worth of savings. Well, yeah, we did. And we ran through that. And so, she said that on, I think, like a Saturday. I was like, I mean, well, we got to do what we got to do, and just trust God. And then, a week later, that Friday, like my phone just started going nuts. Like I just started getting all these alerts from Chase. And I immediately panicked. I'm like, man, these bills is coming out. Like we overdrafting, like crazy, you know what I mean? So I go and log in, and like the unemployment like finally came through. And as you know how unemployment works, like they paid all of those months of back pay. And then because of the pandemic, they were doing like the extra 600 and all of that. So it was, which really, technically I ain't even qualify for it, you know what I mean? So but just even during that time, you know what I mean, like literally all we had was faith to go off of. And I had to still be, a pastor. I had to still be a husband. I had to still be a father, because I don't believe in like letting my kids know that there's you know what I mean, like we don't function like that. So all of those things were happening, and literally like there were no other options but to just trust God. So, and he made a way from that. And we never really were in lack. And he's continued to open doors as a domino effect from that. So
that's beautiful. So I'm gonna ask you I ask the same questions to everybody, because the answers are always different, but then the ending of it is always that God made a way.
Mine are probably longer though, because preachers talk a lot. So
So but the gist of it is that God made a way. And I do that intentionally because I need people out there to know that they're not alone. Even if they during their situation, if they feel a little down or feel like God's not coming through, like you're not alone. Like everybody who is going through something similar or has gone through something similar. But the point that we need you to know during these faith encounters is that God is real and he's faithful. And if you just keep sticking in it, that he's going to come through in the clutch for you.
Right.
So how did it look like for you, like on the negative aspect? Like, was there any time where you was just like, yeah, I don't see if God's gonna come through for me? Like, or was you just straight on point, like, yeah, he coming through. I don't know when, but he coming through. Like, how did that look like for you?
I mean, I guess it was a mixture of both, really, because it was pretty much like it was just coming to the reality of like I had done everything I could do. You know what I'm saying? So it was really like, if anything is going, like my conversations with God were like, if something is going to be done, you got to do it. Like I believe in, faith without works is dead, but God, I've done everything I can do.
Yeah.
So like, if it's going to be done, like you're going to have to do it. And like, I'm gonna be real, like the first few weeks it's like, yeah, this is an opportunity to show, faith and blah, blah, but you get 3-4 months into that and it's like, all right, God, like
yeah, for real.
you cutting it kind of close right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, just having those real, like that was real conversation with God. Like, I'm like, yo, Pops, you
yeah,
be nice to rain down some of them resources right now. You know what I mean? And it was just like I had just like really just gotten to the point where I think that sometimes we got to get to a point where we don't give up, but that we take our hands off, right?
Yeah.
And so like I basically just threw my hands in the air, like, listen, I don't consider this giving up because I've done everything I can possibly do.
Yeah.
But ain't nothing left for me to do. So just whatever, like whatever's gonna happen, happens. And like, it was good that like my wife is who she is, because she's talking like, even if we gotta live in a tent, we gonna be together and this is that. And I'm just like, yeah, that sounds good, but fam, I'm not trying to live in no tent. So you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that, but that's not where I'm trying to get to. So to answer that question, like it was a little bit of both. Like there were moments where, I was like, you know what? The deeper I get into the hole and the deeper we get into the hole, the more miraculous the outcome is going to be. But then there was also times where it's like, yo, like do something.
Yeah.
Like God, do something. You know what I mean? At least tell me you're going to do something. You know what I mean? So the reality is it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of both. And it was kind of difficult to, come in and really try to almost hide that so that I could encourage other people. Like that was tough too. So, I'm not going to front like it was just like, like I was, Superman in the spiritual. Absolutely not. So, but like you said, ultimately, like God made a way like he always does. And he'll continue to do it.
Yeah. It's so awesome to hear stories about that. Like people are struggling because when you come in, you don't show it. You don't say nothing about it. You carry on as if everything is normal when all hell is breaking loose on the back end. So that's wonderful. Well, you heard it here from Pastor Jordan Bartlett, again, pastor of Abundant Faith Christian Church. You are actually joining us today on Pink Sunday. You want to talk about Pink Sunday?
I mean, we're just honoring our breast cancer survivors, trying to do our part to bring awareness to the disease. So, you can go on our site if you want to support. I mean, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but the reality is people are being diagnosed and treated all year round. So initially, we were only going to run the breast cancer apparel for the month of October. But, if somebody gets, diagnosed or even surgery or starts treatment or whatever in June, we want them to still be able to get that. So, that's just kind of us doing our part to honor the queens that are dealing with and have dealt with the disease breast cancer. So, but it's Pink Sunday, October 25th, 2020, and so we're just honoring them, and we're gonna flood social media with love and support for them.
All righty. Well, thank you for rocking with us another episode, and we will see you next week.